please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Well, keep an eye out on some of those Asian markets as well as the SGX Nifty. Now, when we started off the show just around 15 minutes odd back, we had most of those markets that were trading in the green. Now they've suddenly done a quick U-turn. Remember, we had a flash that was up for you on the screen. The Chinese yuan, now that's moved to around 6.7. Weakening of the yuan is never good news, because that could mean that the Chinese can export more amount of their production. Yeah? So that's something that's going to be hurting sentiment, I think. Pull up the Nikkei. If you can get the intraday chart of the Nikkei or maybe the SGX Nifty, that'll tell you what, in fact, I'm talking about. Some of those markets are trading well in the green. And suddenly, in fact, we did see a sharp downtick out there. Intraday chart, SGX Nifty, yeah, it was indicating a gain of around 30 points, just around 30 minutes back on. Now, in fact, it's indicating a more or less flattish start. Even the Nikkei was up nearly around 30 points odd. That, in fact, is trading in the red as we speak. But back home on the large street, well, the market recovered in the last hour with the Nifty and the Sensex ending with cuts of only around 0.5%. The mid caps in the banking index, they more or less followed suit. Anisha Jain is with us early this morning in the pink of health. Hi, Anisha. A very good morning. Tell us, how's trade set up?
Good morning, Nigel. Thank you so much for that. Wishing the pink of health for you as well. But the markets were not really very healthy yesterday because they were very volatile. They did recover from the lows of the day. The Sensex ended 150 points off the day's low. The Nifty ended 50 points off the day's low, but still ended below the 50-day moving average. Actually, the heavyweights like HDFC as well as Reliance and L&T were adding pressure onto the Nifty. Even if you look at the cash volume figures, the FIs net sold around 1,200 crores odd rupees in the equities cash market yesterday. Though the DIs, they tried to pump in money at around 370 crores. So clearly the trend of EM outflows seems to be continuing. If you're looking for global cues today, well, the US markets actually ended in the green. The technology stocks there did well, and that's the reason we saw the Nasdaq gaining around 0.75%. The likes of Dow and S&P also closed in the green, with the Dow up around 0.15%. Now the US markets as well, they had opened a tad bit lower, but they made quite a bit of recovery by the end of the day, though the upside were a bit capped because the trade war concerns still linger. Because remember, all eyes are on July 6th now, which is the looming deadline for the US to impose around 25% tariffs on $34 billion worth of Chinese goods as well. So that is the next thing that the street is watching out for. We have heard comments from Canada as well as European Union where they have been talking about retaliation as well as putting more tariffs on US, and that's the reason the markets there were capped a bit. The European markets ended in the red. The Asian markets, the last time I checked, were actually trading in the green, but as you mentioned, they seem to have been making a U-turn and now trading in the red. Keep an eye out on Hang Seng because that one was not trading yesterday. Today it is showing a bit of downtick of around 2.5%. SGX Nifty for starters showing a flattish start, but important levels to watch out on the downside is the 100-day moving average, that is around 10,530, 200-day moving average at around 10,440. On the upside, keep an eye out on 10,694 because that is the 50-day moving average. Other than that, the important cue for watch out for today and something that you have been talking about for the banking space is the implementation or the acceptance of that Sunil Mehta report, wherein they have come in with the Shashakt program. Keep an eye out on rupee. 68.79 is where it closed out yesterday, the lowest level since August 2013. Crude as well, keep an eye out on that. It has eased a tad bit, now closer to the $77 per barrel mark, but keep an eye out on that as well.
Okay, well, Anisha, what about stocks then?
A lot of stocks, but of course the banking in the past stock will be in focus because of this Shashakt scheme that I was talking about. Also the power minister and the state power ministers are meeting in Shimla. So let's see what comes out of that. Hero Motor will be in focus because of course the auto sale numbers came out and they look rather good because the total sales grew by around 13%. Bills and ITC were in focus yesterday as well. Today it will be in focus as well. There is some confusion regarding the news regarding ITC taking over one of Bill's plant because we had ITC management speaking to us about it, but Bill says that the news is factually incorrect. Let's see how that news really pans out. Nestle India will be in focus because they have launched a new range of breakfast cereal, something of a trend that we have been seeing in the FMCG space for late. Stride Sassoon, they have received a US FDA approval for a couple of their tablets. Mahindra CIE, because the promoter has bought around 5% stake from the open market, so clearly something to watch out for. Parag Milk Foods will be in focus because the board approved the acquiring of patented products from Sweden. Tata Power because they have now started 100 megawatt worth of the renewable units. So So these are the stocks in focus, and other than that, Mahindra Life Spaces will be in focus because the MD has suddenly resigned. NCC has announced some order wins for the month, so that might see a tad bit of green tick, but sort of the business as usual. Dr. Reddy's, because they have launched one of the drugs in India. Mangalore Refinery will also be in focus because the board is considering a proposal to enhance the public shareholding to 25%, and they're talking about some other restructuring as well. So let's see what's the reaction on that one. AU Small Finance will be in focus because the ratings have been upgraded to AA negative, and Adani Ports yesterday was under quite a bit of pressure. The promoters have created pledge on 52 lakh worth of shares. So let's see how that one reacts today. Back to you.
All right, Anisha, you happy with the outcomes that you saw yesterday in the FIFA World Cup? Belgium and Brazil.
What a comeback. What a comeback. 2-0 and then coming back with 3-2. So clearly, yeah, that was the highlight of yesterday, Nigel.
All right. You know, Anisha,
let's see whether the markets rebound today or not in that manner.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining in with your cues on the market, the stocks and news. And also, I have to ask you about FIFA because you've really been tracking that so closely. Thanks so much, Anisha. Well, time to slip into a short break. Up next, we'll get you an exclusive conversation with Rajneesh Kumar, the chairman of S.
Well, let's revisit the top stories. So the Neil Mehta panel, which was set up to find ways to tackle stressed assets, has submitted its report to the government, recommending a 5-pronged strategy. Suggestions include creation of an asset management company for large assets with exposure of over 500 crores and a potential for turnaround. Creation of an asset trading platform is also a part of the plan. Sapna Das caught up with Rajneesh Kumar, the chairman of State Bank of India. Here is that exclusive interaction.
काफ़ी नेगोशिएशंस डिफरेंट फंड्स से करना होगा, तो वो प्रोसेस अब स्टार्ट करते हैं हम लोग। और बाकी जो एसएमई के लिए वो तो हर एक बैंक को रिपोर्ट दे दिया जाएगा और बैंक्स अपना प्रोसेस सेटअप करेंगे। स्टेट बैंक में तो ऑलरेडी हमारा 25 करोड़ तक तो ऑलरेडी स्कीम है, उसको अब हम लोग रिव्यू करके एनहेंस करके 50 करोड़ तक लाएंगे।
Quick question, you said it will be a widely held AMC, right?
So कंसंट्रेशन रिस्क नहीं होना चाहिए, और वैसे भी जैसे मान लीजिए स्टेट बैंक का है तो हम लोग 10% से ज़्यादा किसी भी उसमें इन्वेस्ट नहीं करते, तो वो 10% ही रखेंगे।
So is there a possibility that foreign participation might?
It may happen in the AMC or fund structure.
So this AMC will be especially beneficial for the power sector.
I see more possibility for the power sector definitely. But again and again, what Mr. Jayakumar said, Mr. Mehta said, what I am saying is, right now the approach is fragmented. One ARC goes to one bank, they sell the asset. They are also not holding the majority. They cannot also drive the efficiency. Another is when they issue the SRs. We have seen the track record that 7-8 years and the SR redemption percentage is very poor. So that is another thing. Third thing is that when there are 26, 39, 35 banks in the consortium, arriving at a consensus is becoming very difficult. There is no sanctity. When we talked about intercreditor agreement, that is a voluntary, it will be done under IBA, it will be done with the consent of all the participating members, but there is definitely a need for laying down certain ground rules by which all the member banks in a consortium or multiple banking, they should participate and behave in the larger interest. It should not so happen that anyone, either the lenders which have a bigger exposure, they just impose their will. That way 67% is a very fair thing to do. Or a small bank with a 50 crore exposure in a consortium and holds the whole process to ransom. And that is what we are seeing currently. So that is where we are trying to work out a solution. It is all voluntary.
Well, on that note, let's get in some reactions from the market experts on what they make of the Sunil Mehta panel recommendations.
Let's not look at only the AIF and the AMC issues which have been flagged.
Sure.
Actually, look at the vast number of cases below 50 crores and between 50 to 500 crores. These are the ones which will create massive employment. And these are the ones which are not being resolved. To that extent, the plans which are submitted by the Sunil Mehta committee report, they are pretty actionable and pretty comprehensive. Now, if you look at what has been done in the 50 to 500, see, wherever you're getting, they are being participated by 10 or 11 banks, and unless the last bank actually takes a decision, no resolution happens. So here the responsibility has been devolved onto the lead bank, which sort of aligns the interest of all. And therefore, we expect that going forward, at least this 50 to 500 and below 50 is a time-based approach. And there is a market review mechanism There is a committee-based approach which will oversee the process.
Yeah.
Now, coming to the the AMC-IF structure, see, most of these are real assets, and in capital resource scarce countries, they have some value. Now, because of whatever imbalances and micro factors, they are depressed. The values are depressed and not in line with the expectations. So the point here, as has been made out by earlier speakers as well, is the value.